Part 8 of making a Halo Infinite cosplay. I'm going to show you how I weather my armor. The first step is to apply a clear coat. I'm using satin clear coat because that's the finish I want to go for. The clear coat helps protect the base colors, and when you're doing the weathering, it prevents it from rubbing off. When applying clear coat, you want to make sure you do thin, even coats, and you can build up a couple layers if you need to. You want to make sure that you're clear coating every single piece of armor. Next, it's onto the weathering. To start with, I use watered down black acrylic, and you want to make it a milky, creamy consistency, which just helps it from beading up and running off the surface of your prints. Once the wash is ready, using a paintbrush, I apply it to the armor or prop, whatever you're going to do, and then using a cloth or paper towel, I go in and dab the surface just to get rid of most of the moisture. And then I'm just going to rub off most of it until it kind of sits in the crevices like this. Depending on your surface finish of the prop, the weathering will come off differently when you rub it with the cloth. For example, these thighs are actually from my original costume and they have quite a rough surface finish. So after adding the wash, I can just take the cloth and wipe it straight off, and most of it will stay on the surface of the 3D print. And I'm just going into those deeper crevices a bit more, doing circular motions and doing some dabbing along the surface to avoid any streaks. The next process I do is adding the weathering and battle damage. I love using this gilded chrome enamel paint. It stinks really bad and you need to wear a respirator when using it because it can cause organ failure, but if you take the right precautions, it's so worth it. Here you can see what it looks like after I've added a bit more, and you can see in the light it kind of shimmers like real metal. The next stage is to add some more variation in the weathering. I like to make two different mud brown colors, one which is darker and acts as like a wet mud, one which is lighter, which acts as a dry mud. You can see how I'm making the brown. I mix red and yellow and some black, mix it all together, and you have brown. I call this shade Nutella Brown. Then, using the trusty old natural sponge, I go ahead and stipple some texture around the armor piece. It's super easy to go overboard with the weathering, so taking a step back for maybe half an hour or so can really help make sure that you're getting the desired effect. When adding the mud effect, I like to think about the story of how the mud got there. Whether it's I was sliding through the mud or a plasma grenade blew up and threw chunks of mud at me. Just little things like that can help sell the story of the weathering. This is the light brown, and this is kind of like a peanut butter brown if we're going off of the food. And this one I use to add more on the edge highlights, and I use it a bit more sparsely. As I said before, it imitates dried mud, which can really help bring some more depth to your weathering. And again, I'm using a natural sponge to